Hi, it's me again. Sorry, I've been a bit quiet last few days and I had a bit of a busy weekend, so I didn't get a chance to make any videos. But while I've been having me little break doing whatever I've been doing, a few stories have come up. And I said this year, I've been saying it all year, haven't I, that it's escalating. It's building to something with regards to the licence fee. What's going to happen? I don't know, but we'll stay in the fight on that. But there's a couple of bits here that kind of escalate the point. I don't know if you clocked this one in the Express a few days ago, is it? BBC licence fee could be replaced with alternative sources of funding in next review. Yeah, it's the way it's got to be done. I mean, they're not going to do anything until the charter expires, which is 2027, I think, isn't it? But what's going to happen then? Can they really, with the way people are feeling about the licence fee, with the cost of living crisis and everything at the minute, and the way people feel about the BBC because of the way it behaves sometimes? I don't know. Look, Scott Benton, who's MP for Blackpool South, told ministers in the House of Commons on Thursday morning that many of his constituents view the BBC licence fee as an outdated, regressive tax and wonder why they're forced to fund a broadcaster which they don't support and don't want to watch. It's a fair point. You know, if you don't support the BBC, what they do, you don't believe we need public service broadcasters, why should your household have to pay for it? If you don't want to watch the BBC, yeah, you still probably have to pay for it if you want to watch anything else as it's being broadcast, which is the most ridiculous thing. I know you can technically opt out, but if you opt out, you can't watch anything else as being broadcast, can you? That's the stupid part of it. And yeah, there was a reply here from John Whittingdale, local MP for where I grew up in Malden, useless, previous Culture and Media Secretary, and now Minister of State for Data and Digital Infrastructure. So what he's doing getting involved in this, I'm not quite sure. Where's Lucy today? Is she off handing out some more trophies and getting sprayed in champagne somewhere else, is she? But he said, the government has made it clear that a licence fee will remain in place for the remainder of this charter period. But my honourable friend, I hate they call them honourable friends. There's nothing honourable about 2/3 of the people in that bloody place. Anyway, but my right honourable friend is right that there are challenges going forward. He may be aware that the number of people paying the licence fee has fallen by 1.9 million in the last 5 years. It's 500,000 people stopped paying in the last 12 months alone. That's how you know something's got to give. Something has to change. Something has to change. They can't carry on or no one will be paying it. More and more people are learning about it. I'm flooded with emails and questions from new people who have realised you don't necessarily have to pay it. So he goes on to say, therefore, it is right that we should look at possible alternative sources of funding for the BBC in the longer term, and that will be the focus of the funding review. There's a problem. There is a problem. It could be turned into a tax, as we know. They're not saying anything. What astounds me about it, they're always talking about it. They're saying, well, we're looking to put it on a broadband bill or making it a subscription service or making it a tax. Never once have I heard these people say the BBC needs to look at becoming commercial. They're already commercial. BBC Studios is very commercial, makes fortunes. I fail to understand it. I fail to understand. And this poll, the numbers are changing on this poll, as well as a poll in the Express. 65% of TV viewers want BBC fee ditched. You can't argue with numbers like that, can you? I've seen it higher, though, but then I've also seen it lower. So, I don't know. The Express polls, I don't know, pinch of salt. It'd be like if I did a poll on here, wouldn't it? Where the only reason you're watching this is because you're against the BBC, you're against the licence fee. There's no other. You're not going to watch this channel because you like me, are you? The poll would be skewed, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be a fair poll. And the problem with the Express ones is they title it like that. And the only people that click it are the people that are interested in not paying the licence fee. So it's a skewed poll, isn't it? But this was an interesting one that I found in National World. It come up on my feed. Look, it's time to stop criminalising people who don't agree with BBC monopoly on licence. More and more people are starting to understand that you have to pay the BBC in order to watch ITV. If you don't pay it, you can't watch anything that's being broadcast. More and more people are cottoning on to the fact that the BBC get all the money. They're like, well, Channel 4's not getting any of the money, ITV's not getting any of the money. Why the hell am I paying this just to support the BBC? And if I don't pay it, I get into trouble for watching stuff. So many people now. Honestly, I can't even describe the amount of emails and messages I'm getting at the minute with people who have got questions and stuff like that. It's great. It's really, really good. And I've spoken to a few people in this sphere as well, and they're all getting flooded. So what's this article got to say? Look. Well, I don't know about it. It says here, the BBC clings to 3 myths to justify its existence and a £4 billion licence fee revenue. So this publication reckons only the BBC makes quality public service British programming. Only the BBC can provide universality of content, and only the BBC can provide impartiality in news. No, they cling to more than that. They cling to more than that. They cling to the thing that there's no ads. They cling to the thing that they put out local radio and local news like no one else can. And they're ruining all of those things. You know, do you believe that they have really good quality content now? I don't. They've been completely usurped to that. Maybe back in the day, yeah, they did. Because there was only 4 or 5 channels. Only the BBC can provide impartiality in news. Well, that's been proven completely wrong now, hasn't it, with all the latest news outlets that are popping up. And the BBC, only the BBC makes quality public service British programming. Not everybody knows that ITV and Channel 4 are also British public service broadcasters that carry a public service broadcast remit. It's not just the BBC. They don't get any of the money, only the BBC do. So, yeah, this is there anything else? I'm just going to skim this, see if there's anything else interesting in it. Yeah, it goes on to make some fair points, this one, but there's some fairer points that could have been made. Because it says here, have no fear, Strictly Come Dancing, Gary Lineker and women's netball will still be available without taxpayer funds directed exclusively at the BBC. The difference is that those indifferent to such content will no longer have to pay. It won't, even if the BBC closed down, you're not going to lose Strictly, you're not going to lose Doctor Who, you're not going to lose David Attenborough stuff. It's a message we need to get out there more. All of those things are controlled by BBC Studios, which is commercial. So if the BBC itself goes down, which I don't care, I'm completely indifferent. You know, I don't care. I couldn't care less if the BBC goes down. If they survive being commercial, good for them. If they don't, ta-ta, don't care. The shows won't go anywhere because BBC Studios is commercial. But just sell them to someone else, won't they? Let's sell them to Netflix, sell them to Channel 4, sell them to whoever they want. There's no good argument now for it. And I have got hundreds of these stories bookmarked. Way too many that I'd talk about and bore you all with. But it really feels like something's sort of snowballing up. Now, I haven't seen it like this before. You know, I've been doing this a few years now. I haven't seen it like this before, where there's so many stories and so many articles and so many people talking about it. That it does feel like it's snowballing, and I stand by what I said. I reckon this year we're gonna have some news. I didn't envision more problems with the BBC that have arisen. It's gone a bit quiet now, but I'm sure we'll get some updates on that at some point. But yeah, I think we're going to hear some news this year about what's going to happen in 2027. And these people in Parliament, these right honourable people in Parliament, need to start discussing the fact that the BBC just needs to go commercial. Why do they think the BBC's above it? You never hear it in the conversation. You hear it in the conversation in the papers. You hear it in the conversation down in the comments below. You hear it everywhere else but the people who make the decisions. It's like, that's it. They're not even considering the fact that the BBC could go commercial. It's not a consideration for them. They're not interested in having that conversation. So what do they have planned? Media tax, going on your council tax, where you can't avoid it, and then you've got to pay per person if it goes on your PAYE, on your pay slip at the end of the month. Or it could just be abolished. We don't know. We don't know. But they might have a bigger fight on their hands if they try and chuck it on council tax or something, eh? On your bill, on your pay slip, when you can't avoid it, and then I'd end up having to pay it. There'd be a fight then, wouldn't there? What do you think about all this? It does seem like something's escalating, doesn't it? Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Hit all the buttons below and all the things people say at the end of YouTube videos for some reason. No one does them anyway. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one at some point this week. Don't know when yet. Probably tomorrow. Ta-da!